Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I'm back with another video on my cutting journey. If you've been following my channel, you know that I recently shared a video on my extreme cut to 94 pounds, where I outlined all the workouts that I did and the meals that I ate to get to that weight. But in today's video, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of my cutting journey. I'm going to share all of my honest and personal thoughts and experiences on cutting down to 94 pounds. We'll explore not just the how, but the why, while being completely candid about the physical and mental challenges that I faced. And finally, we'll discuss the big question, was it really worth it? To start off, let's rewind and take a look at this photo of me taken back in 2020. This is me before I started lifting at around 105 pounds. And this is the time when I decided that I wanted to grow my glutes. So I ended up getting some help from a friend who had been lifting for about a decade to help me put together my very first workout program. And at this time, I wasn't eating to gain or lose weight. I was just eating my usual foods. And I definitely wasn't tracking any of my calories or what I was eating really. But my friends had pointed out to me that it's going to take more than a workout plan to get a fat. And they also told me that I also have to make sure that I'm consuming enough food, protein, and water to complement this workout in order to get a fat. So in this case, being at a calorie surplus and eating the right amount of protein relative to my weight were the two key things that I did while working out. In other words, my wasn't gonna grow itself unless I ate a ton of calories and protein. So I slowly started gaining weight while working out 3 times a week from that point on. And within just 1 year, I saw very noticeable gains and I was very content with the progress that I was making. And this gave me the boost in confidence to start posting my body online, especially during the summertime. However, I'm going to be honest and admit that I was starting to slowly feel uncomfortable with the weight gain. Looking back, I know that it wasn't that much weight, but I just wasn't used to even gaining weight to begin with because I've always had a relatively low weight all my life. And I was especially feeling uncomfortable because I was starting to get a lot more traction on social media around this time. So within about a full year of consistently working out and tracking my calories and protein intake, I started playing around with the idea of starting my very first cut. As I was slowly transforming my body at this time, I started realizing how much our mental health intertwines with our physical goals. A few years back, I briefly used online therapy for around 2 to 3 months, and this experience was honestly such a big game changer for me. It was during this period that I was assigned small tasks that significantly changed my mindset and helped me set realistic goals, including all of my fitness-related ones. This brings me to BetterHelp, the sponsor of this video. BetterHelp offers a platform where you can find licensed therapists who are just a click away. They provide a range of therapists specializing in different areas, making it easier to find someone who fits your needs. Even though my own therapy journey was short, it taught me the importance of mental strength in achieving physical goals, and BetterHelp understands this connection. With their service, you have the flexibility of having your therapy sessions over the phone, video chat, or even through messaging. And this flexibility is so crucial, especially when you're on a strict training regimen or diet plan. And signing up is straightforward. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire, and in most cases, you'll be matched with a therapist within 48 hours. If the first match isn't right, don't worry, because BetterHelp allows you to switch therapists with ease, ensuring you find the right fit without extra stress or costs. Use my link down below to get 10% off your first month and start your path towards a healthier and happier you. Taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body. Thank you to BetterHelp for not only supporting this channel, but also for providing a service that helps so many on their path to wellness, both mentally and physically. Okay, so let's get back into the video. Let's finally get into why I started this cut. I'm gonna get real with you guys here. As you all know, social media has unfortunately become one of the main reasons why a lot of us feel very insecure with our appearances, and I am no exception. However, I feel like there is a huge amount of pressure, specifically on social media influencers nowadays, especially within the fashion and lifestyle niche, which happens to be the niche that I'm in, to always look good on camera for content. And when I say good, I mean to fit conventional beauty norms. Nowadays, it's looking skinny while also having a fat while also having a pretty face, as an example. So the competition to get the most attention out of every user is higher than ever. This drives more and more creators to basically compete with each other through vanity while still being knowledgeable about their niche. And honestly, this is the exact reason why I decided to cut throughout my fitness journey. It was to maintain a body fat percentage that I was comfortable and confident in while still being able to eat foods that I enjoyed. However, I'd say that curiosity is what led me to do an extreme cut to 94 pounds. My initial plan was to actually go through a very long, slow bulk and to add in some mini cuts in between for many months, maybe even years. This may be surprising for some people, but as I started cutting, it turned out that it wasn't so hard for me. So I decided to keep pushing myself until it did feel hard. And next thing you know, I was 94 pounds. It's important to note that I did this all under the supervision of a coach who happens to be that same friend who wrote my initial workout plan and who's also a competitive bodybuilder. They warned me even before I started cutting what it would most likely be like, especially as a woman. And they definitely let me know all of the potential negative consequences, and I was okay with them. So since my niche on Instagram is very competitive and oversaturated, I thought the appearance of how I'd look like during my peak cut would be a huge advantage for me. Now I'm going to go into more detail on all of my personal struggles during my cut. Let's start off with the physical ones. Before I made the decision to put myself through an extreme cut, I was already aware that being in a calorie deficit could cause the following. The first is fatigue and nutrient deficiencies. I felt way more tired and weak, which is expected, and it showed a lot in my workouts, especially near the end of my cut. Like, I was still able to increase reps here and there, but I definitely wasn't hitting any major PRs as opposed to when I was bulking. The last few weeks of the cut mainly consisted of trying to maintain the weight and reps of each exercise. The second is irregular menstrual cycles or a lack of them. I noticed that my period cycle was altered slightly. My period would get delayed for up to 3 to 5 days from the projected date. I've even heard of female bodybuilders who would actually just not get their period at all, just because of how extreme and long-lasting their calorie deficits were. The third is that it can lower your immunity, thus increasing the risk of infections and illnesses. Luckily, I managed to not get sick during my recent cut or any of my other cuts. Now for the mental struggles. In my opinion, dealing with the mental struggles was a lot more difficult for me in comparison to dealing with the physical struggles. During my cut, I noticed two main things. First thing I noticed was the increase in irritability. I was way more moody and grumpy than usual. For example, the smallest things would get me so annoyed, and it would clearly show in my mannerisms and in my voice tone. Like, I'd say that I'm a pretty impatient person overall, but I felt like my patience was always getting tested during this cut. The best thing I can compare to is when someone is hangry, except you just never feel fully full, if you get what I mean. The second thing I noticed was the lack of focus and motivation. Since I had very high fatigue and felt very weak, it was incredibly difficult to stay focused on one thing for a long period of time. Not just workouts, but pretty much anything. I was working a 9-to-5 job at the time, and I found it incredibly difficult to even focus on one small task. And then I was doing content creation on the side. So doing tasks like planning for future content and just having the energy to get up and shoot the content was really hard. And I think the main reason was because my brain was wired to only think about food and nothing else. I remember that I kept asking myself, when is the next meal? Every 5 to 10 minutes, because I was just so hungry. Like, it takes a lot of willpower and discipline to just not eat. So fighting that mental battle was just incredibly difficult. Let's finally answer the big question, is it really worth it? Let's quickly get into the pros and cons of cutting in general. Based on my personal experience, these are the 2 pros that I can think of. The first pro is that you'll subjectively look more attractive. I had less body fat on my face, which meant that I had a more aesthetic looking face, and less fat on my body, which meant that I had insane abs. and both of these things made me feel a lot more confident in my appearance. And the second pro is that you can potentially receive a lot of positive feedback in real life and on social media. I remember seeing some of my friends around this time, and I would get non-stop compliments on how my face looked, on my abs, and it was just great to receive positive feedback after everything that I put myself through. And for social media, pretty much every reel/photo that I posted during my cut performed consistently well in terms of engagement. And the ones that performed the best were my abs, which is no surprise. And that's pretty much the only pros that I can think of. Now let's go over the cons. The first one is that cutting too much can subjectively make you look sick and even borderline scary. When I compared photos of my face and body during my cut to my current face and body for the very first time, I genuinely thought I looked sick. And this is obviously subjective too, but I just want to bring it up because people who do decide to do a cut like this may not be happy with this kind of look. And the second is that it is not sustainable. As you can see, it's pretty impossible to maintain this type of extreme cut look all year round. And last but not least, it's clearly unhealthy. As mentioned earlier, there are a ton of physical and mental consequences if you do choose to do an extreme cut like this. It's also possible to get some type of eating disorder or even body dysmorphia. So now the next big question is, do I think it's worth it? Well, it depends. Like, is it worth it to cut in general? I'd say yes. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot to learn about yourself and your discipline just through cutting. So I do think that they are worth doing. But do I think it's worth it to do an extreme cut where you can literally see ab veins? Probably not for most people. I think if you're in the social media and content creation industry, or pretty much any profession where your income relies heavily on your looks, I completely understand why it would seem logical to do a cut like this. Overall, I do think that the cons outweigh the pros, which makes it not worth it for the majority of people. And would I do an extreme cut again? Probably. Not anytime soon, because I do want to continue my path in growing my glutes, and I'm pretty set on doing my long, slow bulk, but I can see myself eventually doing it again. So final thoughts, as someone who has gone through an extreme cut, mini cuts, as well as maintenance and bulking phases, I can say that a happy medium of staying healthy, eating what you want, but still being comfortable and confident in your body is to either go on a constant maintenance phase or do a long, slow bulk and add smaller cuts in between. So for the first one, if you're already content with the way your body looks at a certain amount of body fat percentage and you don't have any major fitness goals like growing glutes, for example, then doing this is a great balance of looking and feeling good. And for the second one, if you do have specific fitness goals like growing a certain body part like glutes, arms, etc., then this method is most likely for you. As mentioned earlier, I'm currently doing this and my goal is to grow my glutes. And the mini cuts sprinkled in between this bulk is definitely not as extreme like the last cut I did, and to still be able to eat a decent amount of food that you'll actually enjoy while still making great gains. And the best part is that this method will make you feel confident in the way you look while not feeling like mentally and physically. So we finally made it to the end. Congrats on making it to the end of this video. Remember, while setting fitness goals is important, it's equally crucial to approach them with a healthy mindset and understanding of our own limits. Ultimately, your health and well-being should always come first. If you enjoyed this video or found it insightful, consider giving it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might benefit from it, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing for more of my content. Thanks so much for watching this video. And I also want to give a quick thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.